the 6th General Assembly of ICC mandates the President to immediately appoint appropriate representation to IUCN Specialist Group on Sustainable Use of Wildlife Species. Thank you.
Seconder. Delbert. Before we question any other, can I get a copy of the resolution?
I'd like a copy too.
Mr. Chairman, I understand it was disputed wrong, but I got more copies here.
Okay, thank you. 9233. What? 30. Resolution 9233.
9233
Susie?
Did we make the motion already for discussion? Or
Yeah, the floor is open for discussion.
Pardon?
It's been moved and seconded.
Okay. I'd like to know what president we're going to direct this to. Are we talking about the president of the ICC or the president of the EEC or what president?
Titus?
What was the question?
In your therefore be it resolved, you have ICC mandates the president. I'd like to know what president that is.
ICC President.
All right, thank you.
Further comment? Any objection? 9233 is passed.
9233 ang tawag.
Robert Peary, Greenland.
Robert Peary.
Yeah. Tässä utsia una guasa kaidu sinno takokkahuha kano imari inuit piuhitokkaminni piniaqattarnissaanni akuarnerarnissaq taanilussunakkuatiqqaaya qaddunaatuinnerwani timmihaakku uqtuyaaraaya qaddunaatu atuaqluu taimapeqquneqassagum nutserninga huli takkutingitsorma tässä imaatto hiuttorneqautigattartagu taunakadat hinnertuit hiunnerluutiakku aattalu attaningaani haqqummiunneqarattaqqaarluni kissautiineqarattaqqaarluni tukorkamiunin aattalu alaskamiun kihalu raatta kanatami uawuddu ajorneqquutiqattaagu fittuit resolution in support of the restoration of traditional Inuit hunting rights. Tässä qulaquttaa taunna. Ima kukua atuarniliaaraik katuluktut pihinnauna naaqortorlu
alengus nakata tuaraayau nakatai
nakata now therefore be it resolved that the 6th ICC General Assembly calls upon the Russian government to honor the traditional hunting rights of the Inuit people and Be it further resolved that the Sixth ICC General Assembly calls upon the Canadian government to reconsider its position of honoring the traditional go-hunting rights of Canadian and Greenlandic Inuit. And be it further resolved that the Sixth ICC General Assembly mandates the ICC Executive Council to prepare a comprehensive policy for the restoration of traditional Inuit hunting rights for seals, walrus, narwhal, and I don't know these migratory birds, as well as polar bear. Daw suma ako ano kang niya inasuti magadaku resolutions committee mingani kihenni inasuyok to kahamangitso koy
Okay. Are you seconding, Puyo? Again, I don't have a copy. Any comment? Delbert?
Yes, Delbert Rexford. Would we get a clarification of what the co-hunting rights are?
Robert?
Tässä kanamin nga ni kadat ninunanit piniakat takamahud ikani elsmealani miktay nakataktumi kanga elsmealani miktay tässä ni Inuit Tekak taham da sanitut ilos melani mitut Canada miut Nagguivut ikingut sibut Agtaru da sanitut iqaqdibut Taimang hard piniyakatirat hamahud Nit no chugal fiarsimidi Matut kigdaqaqbi matunaqammata Takuqqingittuit Ukiuqpakkitas takuqqidoqqaalut Taima amang nakakpatauna takuqattaqtuayaatsit qimukkimi angalatut sikaqattaatsit Taima etu sitaakku piniaqatiingaanni piniuhitoqqat tammangittusik taakkunungatta tammangittusik watsin tammangittusik tikertaharmi tassani aqqutitoqqat atoqlui piniaqattarnua yaqtakkannernissaat anguyamattu Seto ko magalwati utamat pa pasibin ito kabut ino kati tiluta tabani kanadalo ubagundo.
Further comment? Any objections? Comment? Objection? Titus? Comment?
This comment, Mr. Chairman. On the second, second therefore, it says that the Sixth ICC General Assembly calls upon Canadian government to reconsider its position on honoring the traditional co-hunting rights of Canadian and Greenlandic Inuit. In terms of wildlife harvesting, especially in the Northwest Territories, the government of the Northwest Territories has sole jurisdiction over wildlife management. Could we not change the Canadian government to Northwest Territory government?
Would that be agreeable to you, Robert? Puyo, seconder, do you agree to that change?
Judges, would it be all right if we include both Canadian government and Northwest Territories government?
Which do you want? Both? Is that okay, Titus?
I think both would be better.
Okay. Robert, you agree? Okay. Further comment? Ed?
Natsu unoqatilarta nalakkersuisni ilaarut maalit atsagu oqaloqatilarpakka tanapillu am ippassa naapisimaniikuat kanatami iut takkunni suliaqar uagullu сассеққисарнеқарпу налаккерсуистигуортами тааккорпиарпиавассаккут канатап нунатала қорнан сулиаанеқарт ааллартиттут массаккут таамату уани таама исимақатигиллоқассап имма таперсиилертуинарнеқарсинаа.
Further comment? Martha?
No, for resolution. Can I go ahead?
No. We've got a motion on the floor. Any objections? 9234 is passed. Okay, Roger, if I could get you to go back to 9231.
Thank you, Les. I'm going to call on Ingmar to clearly articulate the suggested amendments. Ingmar?
Ingmar?
Thank you. We had a meeting, Roger, Nakaruplung and I, and Rosemary Kuptana, and we decided to recommend that the wording will be in that whereas that the Faroese will be, instead of that we'll write Denmark, and then we will go down to the third line and delete the two words, that's number 4 and 5 word, the present, delete these and leave the rest unchanged. Whereas Denmark, the Inuit of Canada and the government of the Northwest Territories of Canada have publicly stated that subsistence harvesters consider that it is not satisfactory for the IWC to manage small cetaceans. With these changes, I can second the move.
Okay. Further comment? Any objections? 9231 is passed. Martha?
This is a resolution regarding the cycle of violence in the communities. Whereas Inuit and the government of the nation states in which we live have been in a state of denial with regard to the levels and impacts of family violence, including both physical and psychological abuse and child abuse in our communities. Whereas Inuit are increasingly conscious of how these acts form of cycle of violence which is passed on from one generation to the next and are root cause of much of the alcohol abuse, substance abuse, and suicide in our communities. Whereas few resources are available to people at the community level who wish to help both the abused and the abusers, and so to break the cycle of violence. And whereas there is a desperate need for a permanent, culturally appropriate treatment facilities designed and implemented by Inuit for Inuit, now therefore be resolved that the Inuit Circumpolar Conference recognizes the urgency of these problems and commit itself to addressing them. Be it further resolved that the ICC insists that national and regional regional governments, together with ICC and other Inuit member organizations, must recognize, discuss, and give the highest priority to addressing these problems. And if after it has been seconded, I'd like to make a small comment.
Seconder? Jack? Martha?
Sibulo pamin dun tito kan kama.
First of all, I'm gonna
sibulo tiyo go time ang okas kasungo wata isuni go tawni ngani imialuit ang ayam naktut amalo sikalak tulak paneo taman na pimmakalo katayo anok tiriman amalo soko silani anok tiriman pinaglupan ni kamagayang ngilwa katamat ubagot sibuliok tiyo tan na tay matay na kamagaya kakatigo sibuliw tilago. As Inuit, we always say we care for each other, and if we really do, I think it's about time we stop denying this real problem, because if we don't, we are part of the problem but not the solution. Thank you.
Further comment? Any objections? 9235 is passed. Further resolutions? Edna?
Edna McLean.
Edna McLean.
I don't, do you have a copy of this one? Okay. Whereas the recommendations from the workshop on education and cultural issues during the 6th ICC Assembly were accepted into the proceedings of the Assembly, therefore be it resolved that these recommendations be adopted as resolutions by the 6th ICC General Assembly. And the recommendations were read by Carl Christian Olsen during the report yesterday. And they were adopted as recommendations. I move for their adoption as resolutions.
I'll seconded by Puyo. Comment?
Ja, siitä апеккутеқалаарниартунгаана унга культуурам сулеқатсигиситами инассутигисимасагу пиллугит иммиккорту арфернгат аттавеқатсигиттарнэрму тунгасарпаа тассани инассутигинеқарсимаа 83-сими 86-сими ду аалиагерсаккат туавиусаартумик малунни туавиортумик пивиусунгортитсинеқарнассаат инассутигинеқарпоқ таава апеққутигиниарингаана таанна атаатимитталия комиссиуни сулиуннаарсимасо қангали кисианни сиулерсуусулингаани аторуннаарсинеқарсиманани таава апеққутигерусуппара таассума атаатимитталия сулияй аммалу инассутаа киккуннит исмагинеқассалерсут унаана эққарсаатиинга иттаанеруссангиннерлуни инунни пингасун сисаманиллунни тоққаасоқарпат соорту суккасуумик сулиақарсинаасуми таавал сиулерсуусунгортуссалуллу инассутеқарсинаасуни
ila qanayaqunnaatiarlutigdu
апеққутаанеру
аммалу титеқақуннарниарлутик эққанаяақинаартамингник тусаумақаттаутат.
I take it that that's coming out of your panel discussion the other day. Maybe one of the co-chairs could provide some clarification or answer. Puyo?
I think part of this is more from апеққутаатиссиннера киусиннерусуппут алингерсигасуусиуннэрсуумми саққуммерумаартоқ тасса атортуссимерти тиниссамик алингерсигалиуссақ таккуттуссаа киусиннерусуккут таанналу арпутигалу таккуа киусиннернернерсаат таамааллуни инissиннернерсиннаа
таанна акаангилерутигианга ааққигарамарнааққоқаттигу
Aqaluk.
On the first recommendation,
атулеқуяуссимайо сивуллерпаа
siunnersutaat siulleqqarsaatigalu iliniarfimmik ataatsimut pilersitsinissa isumaappu taamatu qaasilinnarlu
силаттусарвигми катутеқатигиинниартуни инуи нунақутигиангинни
таамааттумиллу сааффинустаасаарарлун наалаккерсуисумут аласками канатами нунатсиннилу наалаккерсуисумут сааффинустигинеқассасо
таанна атулеқуяуссимайо
илниарфиммик атаатсимоорусам таамааттум пилерситсисоқарсинаанерсо мисиссоққуллу
титеқарлута қаануна тиагаваманкунгиннун акукиттормиуллу гавамангиннун қавииннасугниарлута ила аақиксиуннарниармак
сами илимаигиннакку ICC таамааттум joint college сими пилерситсисас
аақиксиуннадиарнамматасулик
нагисатсинни акиуссаас илиниартаанерма киуссаас таамаалуссас
камагио ягаақаққормагавамауюни
тави миккотталлимаат
гавамагиангинну камагиоюннаққормата 5 литра
тассани аллассимау таматта инутситуун илинниалиссасуу
илнаарвиллимаани инуит
нунаққиангинни кисиани оқаатсиут тассила инуиннартуун инувиалуктуун калааллисут инуктитуун инуппиатут юупиттут
сивулли аджигингинна
тааматаажоратси таамааттумик оқаасертай мааттаақассоо that the Inuit languages or language should be taught. Inuktitut taina dialektiungama алларлун тассоқаатиумасаккаққуина præsident
Inuktitut taanna aqausiummingmat аджиунгиллуни иксиваутаа
Eileen?
Edna,
sorry.
Edna McLean, Alaska.
Alaska.
Damna simmekpan Inuktitut Inuit language mun suingit kia.
Inuktitut piltaungaarluni Inuit oqausimi.
Asisuli
титарсманинга адситерлугу Inuit.
Sivullermun. Damnava
sivullerpaartao.
Ingmar igadim oqausiriranga.
Ingmar oqausiriqqauyama.
Workshop tigni oqarapta. Asi oqausirigamiung oqallaktuaq. Tabragu tamatkua Inuit youth. Atauchimugluting avanmon. Lisaruminyak sisaralugit. Tenisimik napayuminyak napait kuwaloaratigut. Aglaan una makra oqaloqangitjoq ICC tenisimik napait kuvlugo.
Kisanilitana atuleqiyaasimayong teemanna oqarsimangimman imma ICC kut saqqitittilutik silattusarvingni. Unali dan atuleqiyaasimayong imannailingaapung silattusarvingmi aaqiksiyoqarluni.
The first item was brought out during our workshop by Ingmar Igabi, and he proposed that a joint college be established in the Inuit homeland to facilitate the Inuit youth to come together and learn about each other's regions, and also to prepare a comprehensive curriculum that would challenge them in all their courses of study. And I believe that this resolution or the statement does not state that the ICC established the college, but that a joint college be established. We have not identified the entities that would establish the college.
Siullullu ipasuaasaqqumiusiinni Uqasi inuitita tornu inuit uqasi inuit language
qaungittunga inuttittumit
Inuit
Inuit uqausingin imaileqqaujunga
Taulu
tainaliungaliuga
tana John College isuma tana tayungila asisi duani
Amalu katinga juni silattusarpiyuni taana nutame uqausiungimma 1977 kai uqautaulorsimammijo uqausiqajaaqattalartu inunnu silattusarpi juamik
Chiqinso
taasamunga apeqqusigi
tana atortussangortitsinor nommi tullerissariussat алаатимиталиасса синерсуутинератус таана аққутигалу тамаккуа лерлерсунеқарсинаассамата
таакку катамалиуju
аққутиссуинеқарсинерс лерлерсунеқарсинаассат
уқаусеққаруннақаярмата қанор тамаккуа саққируннақаярмангаата
as recommendations, they already are adopted through the panel report. Yeah, it's only a revival.
Okay, this has been adopted by way of the adoption of the panel report. This is coming out of the panel? Okay, and you want to introduce it as a resolution at the same time?
This resolution is to adopt these recommendations as resolutions.
Ila pigiartutaajo angerutauna suartutaakununga pigiartutausimajunu.
Okay, Tita?
Tassani suleqatingisitami kultuuram tungasutseqartuni намминнерлунга таанна сагасиутитсигут аттавеқатигилернissaq атоққутигникуара аама илангерлугу алиангерсаккамик сиуннерсуутеқарсимангиланга писсутингалугу алиангерсаккамик пеқареермат 1983 сими алиангерсимасо кисианниукиунеққулаалуани тассуга тунгатиллугу титеққамингила питеқармакку таасмунга униккаангулуму атсиганиттау пититаujумагалоо укиуни маккунани пингаарутеқарлуиннартассаарпу тусагассиутитсигут аттавеқатигилерниссаақ нутаарсиассаник паасиссутиссаниллу пилерсуақатигинниссақ тукоккаммиут аласкаммиут калатамиу калааллиллу акорнанни таавалу суна аққутаасиннаанерпо суккасуумик таамааттумик пилерсуақатигинниссамут пилерситсиниссақ налуара аннилаагассутигипаяаригаана ааси иммақа укиорпассуи сусоқарани resolution taana aliagassanga atuutigitornissa taamaattumik ujartuiluartuga inunnik taimali aliagassimassunik soortoqqaasoqartillugu sukkasuumik suliaqarsinnaassunik pilersitsusoqarsinnaanginnerluni palunnissiulersuusunngortuningaanni imma taima ila katutteqqatigiingujunaartaksiyunersuusunngortusaningaanni tamanna imma isunnarpigineqarsinnaaru taakkuaqa aulatsidiujut
Okay. Well, now that you flagged it, I think that'll be one of the things that'll stick foremost in the minds of the new Executive Council. Further comment? Objections? Comment?
Yes, Una bequlsiru suinnariga tamakkua angunia taasiakka tarammi taatsimistaliaranguan pilersivineras qassinersut tassami takusinnaasakka naapapporluut aliingersaarpalluut qanga pilersaarusiat assivisaalu aammalu assarsuutigalu siusinnerusukka aliingersaasoqarsimu suusartukattuuffi aamma tas alaskakkanat kalaallunnaallu aamma taakkua pilersittigiineqas qassasut ullumannu tikilluusli aam taam pisoqarsimangila unaana naangassutiga tamakkua aliingersaarpalluut tamaasa taatsimistaliim pilersittigiissaain tawa aliingaasarpuruussuit tassana torneqassap taanni loqalu iluusaqarpinaa
taima atuqattaqarnaqattakkisituinnarning atuinnaujunnik tamakkua atungikuttikutaakkua
Point taken. Jimmy?
pigiartitausuugu
Well, it's absolutely true what the last two Greenlandic delegates have said. There have been a number of years have gone by. I guess just some advice, just do it on your own and start getting in touch with some Canadian and Alaskan journalists and see how far you can go by yourself. Just some advice.
Okay. Eileen?
Uvana apikotiga ednamun uva talimani tamna ukaluk tuanik na kauna ilokanye mingwaktor vigni ilisarinyakpat inyupiatun naka inyuktitun naka kalahlisun nagani vana inyunianingat pivat uvana suna ukaluvivisi umani asisuli tafumani ukalugni tenetok ilisari ruhuraru ilokanye mingwaktor vigni asi tafumuna sumi nunakini ilisari nipat ukalugni sigun naga inyuniarniksi
ilinya tutakatangi matan nunalingi ili kusagaja jonello ilinya
Inuit language samaki ilangin ilisari galoaktut aglan miki vaitchok ilisari nyak tamat kual okasiran pirabut aglan tamna Inuit language sama ini nunakindat okalukting ilisari tigini agat inyupegokpan inyupetun piniak ilinya tamat ilinya sila tani ugalo tamak kuninga okasi yun at chiging nunaming nitain na ilisari niya green lami ako kituni imini okasong menya atu inyang mata ilinya titibat tutilyo.
Charlene?
Thank you. Pinya asi ilyokaisa ilisari niya kaming inyupiatun naka inyuktitun naka kalahlisud pinya ilyokanyik tan ngurarluting pinyangit pat mingwaktor vingni. Tam navaw na tena sibuni kakpa. Uvaki kinyaklugo Alaska me kinyakinaktok tan ngural hanyarurut mingwaktor tuani. Sivulirivlugo. Asi tuligivlugo inyupiatun. Nikanakalawaktok aglan tena inyurut Alaska me. Ukaluk ilisari sumigat inyupiatun naka yupiktun ilisari galoak lugu inyuniaro singalu ilisari vlugu arulauti vlugi anguniaktis lugi tamat ko sama tuktingaru pagmami Alaska mi aglan uvarna kinyaktuni inyuikinyatun ukakaniya kaming ilokanye ilisakramigini tasama kanurlunikiak savari yuminyak pitigo.
Ilinya ngayakpan inyap tutu okasingin ni kanurlut taman nasak kakayatang mangan.
Ingmar, you want to respond?
Kiyo yung mabit.
Edna?
Okay.
Edna?
Tam na ukalokaktuk Inuit language go ilisaru tigini agat naka ilisani agat asi tamna taniktun ilisako minyakamiut inipel kanyang ilatun tamna ukalokak
amalutaw ilinya tatiyong nang mayo ima okasi nakangitangin nyo okakasutugop tamako inupitun
Ismapunga
okasi nang
maanakut asingit sakumiusat anguniarisat sakumiusat tamakkerpallaalersinai uut ilutsinningaan siunnarsuutigilas kirsaagarbut viviusungortitiniarnermut nakusilliinermullu suleqatigiisitamik pilersitsamik aaliangarsagassami siunnarsuutisarput tullingullu pisariaqaleriput pissutigaluu tassanaam siunnarsuutiqaratta ilaatiusoorlutii tap siunnarsuutaasa aningaasartalersorneqarnissaani ilaatiutaamtissani ataani qano ililluta
Kinaujak kattitaujunnaqijarmat sapputigiuna pigiartitaujukkuun Takwa ima atule kujilio takina
atuasana muttungatillu
kesiani tana
siunnersuut inutitut imaluni oqaatitsinnik meeqa atuartifiineqartalernissaat isumaqangila oqaatigu taakuinnaa kisim
ima tukkeqangitsu tamanna oqaasiqajavu tamanna tuakulu ilinniartitaaluni kesianittau atigingequlujartualuni oqaasini ilinniaqutta uvagu uvatininnaqulutigasu ngilluta taana aqutigivallialugu taman aqutigijunnarattigu oqaasiqajavut
upparnarsaatissagут uut аллам культуурарпуут
таамаатунналунай кутақигаярартигу атигингиттуни илеққасеққариассатинник аммалу пиуннаутеққаратта аасингитситуттау силартуармиутитут.
Okay, further comment?
Oqaasiksakannit.
Okay. Titus, let's stick specifically now to the resolution and let's not get into the specifics of what the intent behind this is. Okay? Titus?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I briefly would like to advise the Council that there's quite a few international agreements pertaining to education and culture. Government of the Northwest Territories have agreement between Greenland and Canada in terms of education. We have teacher exchange programs, student exchange programs happening. And also we had agreement with Russia, the former Soviet Union. During the month of March, I met with the minister from Russia and also senator from Alaska and people from Nordic countries. They're planning to set up circumpolar ministers' meeting that will be ongoing to discuss educational issues pertaining to Inuktitut, Yupik, and Sami of Nordic countries. That is going to happen next month. And they're also talking about international agreements on education. So there's quite a bit of work being done in terms of international exchanges right now.
Okay, are there any objections? 9236 is adopted. Further resolutions. And when you're bringing something forward, I'd like to remind you to stick to the resolution. I don't want to waver too far off the topic. Roger?
Roger.
Mr. Chairman, this is not a resolution, but I'd like to comment at your permission, of course, later on today on the process being used today, right now, to introduce resolutions on the floor. Please.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we didn't get the message from Roger Gruben.
Well, I guess I don't see anybody stepping forward with any more resolutions. I guess, Roger, you can explain
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to point out to the delegates here that the resolutions that we are undergoing are of great importance to all of us, because they are issues that will be used as the mandate of the next executive of the ICC. It's going to cost money to work and implement these resolutions. I hope that we all realize that. And so far, the resolutions that we have passed, and I've lost track quite some time ago as to how many there are, but we must be somewhere in the tens of millions of dollars of trying to implement these resolutions. So that's one point. The second point is that we have to question, at least I am, questioning the process that is being used to introduce resolutions onto the floor of this General Assembly. And I say this because I would suggest that we don't discuss it now, that for sure it will be discussed 3 years from now as to the process that is to be used to introduce resolutions to the ICC. I thought that in this conference that a resolution had to have gone through the respective countries' caucus. But I also understand that resolutions could be introduced on the floor. Now, I suggest that for the future that the new executive committee and the president review the procedures for introduction of resolutions to ensure that the resolutions that do make it on the floor bear some reality, practical reality to them, and that they are able to be addressed fairly and properly within the time frame of the Executive Council. They should also have received the support of the respective countries' caucuses. And I guess what concerns me most, Mr. Chairman, is that if, for instance, there is a resolution that is not passed through a particular caucus, meaning that it did not get the support there to reach the floor, that person then has the ability at the end of the day, when we have reviewed all of the resolutions, to come here and give it to anybody to introduce onto the floor. So I would say that would be worth the time and the effort of the new president and her executive council members to review the policies and procedures for the next Circumpolar Conference.
Roger, that issue has come up at every General Assembly. There is provisions in the Charter, and what you're suggesting might affect the Charter as it's written now. Presenting the resolutions to the floor. But it's a good suggestion. We have a couple others that are before you here. I don't know who has submitted them. One is a resolution that I've got here on human rights. Is there a presenter? Who you?
First of all, we have correction to do on the second paragraph. Against human rights to the people of Chukotka, Alaska, Canada, and Greenland. That should read like this. Kelasua should Nitoriairo Kizak Kelasua should not minami. To Sakamut. Whereas human rights issues for the Inuit of the Arctic are essential to address and act upon, and whereas the 1992 ICC General Assembly has addressed this important issue in the light of various violations against human rights to the people of Chukotka, Alaska, Canada, and Greenland. Therefore, be it resolved that the ICC at this conference endorses the report of the Working Group on Human Rights Development and International Institutions, and that the 1992 ICC General Assembly asked the Executive Council to further the work on human rights issues and present a proposal to the next ICC General Assembly to form a human rights forum under the auspices of the Inuit Circumpolar Conference.
Is that a motion? Are you moving it? Is there a second? Seconded by?
Benedicte.
Okay. Any discussion? Akaluk?
I think in principle agree on what Roger Gruben just said. This is again, you know, every resolution is every resolution is asking the new Executive Council to work on specific issues. And this is a question here that the Executive Council is going to work with those issues as well. So why do you want to establish a new forum? It should be the Executive Council.
Is that the ICC General Assembly asks the Executive Council to further the work on human rights and present a proposal?
For clarification, Mr. Chairman, you don't need to form any other forum. This is the Executive Council's duty to work on these issues.
So you're proposing to just stop after assembly and the last, therefore be it resolved? That the 1992 ICC General Assembly asked the Executive Council to further the work on human rights issues and present a proposal to the next ICC General Assembly, where it says here to form a human rights forum. What are you proposing?
Mr. Chairman, the whole resolution is inadequate right now. We are dealing with these questions on a daily basis in the ICC Executive every day. So why do we need another resolution?
Mr. Chairman, and then Jimmy.
William?
We have had panel discussions where we got presented and we got approved the reports. But under these resolutions, we have never seen any addressing the reports of the panel on the human rights. So, it is necessary to stick to these to ensure that the work is done.
You're saying that the resolution is necessary. Jimmy?
Having been on the Executive Council, as well as Puyu has, and sympathizing somewhat with Akaluk on all the work that is passed, I would suggest, I would make a motion to amend this, and rather than calling to form a human rights forum, I would mandate that the Council present a report on their work under this topic to the next meeting. So moved.
So your motion is that instead of the last...
I would take out any reference to a human rights forum and call it a report, a mandated report that the President would, the President would give to the next conference.
We might be a little bit tired and too hot also. But, I would like to say that you have, for the first day already, a kit where in your kits there is a report on the work done by the ICC Executive Council in the last 3 years on questions on human rights. And we as member of the United Nations non-governmental organization have a specific mandate to work on human rights. And since '84 we have been working on that through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So that's our mandate already.
Will you?
the wording is present a proposal to the next General Assembly to form a human rights forum.
Jimmy had made a motion. I neglected to ask for a second to change the wording. It died. Yes, I know that. This was an amending motion. Okay, so we still have the motion as it was originally put forward. Now, what's the wishes of the panel?
Yes, we have a proposal now that we do something essential in 1993 for the International Year of Indigenous Peoples, that we, instead of a proposal for a human rights forum, that ICC, in cooperation with United Nations, arrange an Indigenous Peoples World Conference on Indigenous human rights questions in 1993. It's a motion.
We have a motion to amend to the language. Is there a second? Jimmy?
I'll second. It would be nice to get a copy of the language.
Any other discussion? Any objection to the motion to amend? Okay, then it becomes part of the main motion. Is there any further discussion on the main motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Thank you, it's passed.
What number is this?
Mr. Chairman?
Henry?
Yes, I agree with Roger in regards of resolutions coming from the floor and very, very time-consuming. I think that the next president and the ICC Council should look at possibly coming to a next General Assembly amending the Charter and the bylaws so that we can expedite the meeting and look at the resolutions a lot closer. So moved.
Did you move that, Henry? Is there a seconder to that? Seconded by Susie Ehrlich. Any objection?
We did. What's the motion?
The motion was to have the next ICC president and the Executive Council look at possibly amending our charter in regards to resolutions, that maybe we want to look at resolutions instead of having resolutions come from the floor, that they come to the different caucuses or the different countries and not to have them come to the floor, just to expedite and expedite the meeting in regard to the resolution.
Any objections to the motion? Okay, that's passed.
So why
am I doing this then? Why am I doing this then? Yes, Mary? Yeah.
The next resolution is in regard to the participation of elders in the Inuit Circumpolar Conference. The delegates directed us to have a meeting on this issue, and we met with the 3 elder chairmen that were elected in Tuktoyaktok. And after much discussion, there was agreement on this resolution from the ICC Executive Council and the 3 elder chairpersons that were at that meeting. And I will read the resolution. It reads as follows. whereas the chairpersons of the 1992 ICC Elders Conference have expressed the desire to continue the forum of the elders as it has been in the past, and whereas there is a requirement for closer communications between the ICC Elders Council and the ICC Executive Council, and whereas it is desirable that all segments of Inuit society, in particular elders, youth, men and women, be represented in ICC General Assemblies. Now therefore be it resolved that the ICC Elders Conference remain a separate forum from the ICC General Assembly, and be it further resolved that for the purposes of closer communication, each member party commit itself to funding and facilitating regular meetings of the chairpersons of the Elders Council, and be it further resolved that each member party, when selecting its delegation members to the ICC General Assembly, must keep in mind the requirement to ensure adequate representation of elders, youth, men, and women.
Seconder? Seconded by Charlie Johnson.
Charlie Johnson,
Are there any objections to the resolution? Jack?
Jack?
Mr. Chairman, so I wonder, can we include the youth groups in there, or is that taken care of by the resolution?
I don't think we were specific other than to mention youth in an overall generic sense. But it is for everybody. Stanton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was dealt last year at Susimip, that youth and elders jointly. Thank
Are there any objections? Resolution 9238 is adopted.
9238,
Further resolutions?
Are you going
to introduce it?
Yeah. Kunikut wa tunniu sarismasa pifis aqqa tunniu sarismasa uningatinarna qarsimaamat utoqqatsaruarpunga kalaallisuin allanikuwa peqqinissaq inunis isumaginninnar tungawa kisian aama allan tungatinneqarsinnaava sammisan assiinitsunut.
We in order to have a resolution, we have to have it floated to all the delegates on the floor, and they have to be in receipt of it before we can discuss it.
I wasn't told that way.
Ingmar?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to present the resolution concerning seaborne nuclear reactors. I raised the subject a couple of days ago. It was given to the language was given, or the resolution was given to the resolution committee, but by some mishaps it has not been distributed. I will ask Charlie Johnson to, we only have it in English to my knowledge. I will ask Charlie Johnson to read the resolution.
Thank you. It's resolution concerning seaborne nuclear reactors. Whereas approximately 10% of the installed nuclear reactor capacity in the world are on ships, Whereas the states of the former USSR have a fleet of at least 170 nuclear-powered ships and submarines, including 7 icebreakers, some 60% of all the world's sea-based nuclear reactors. Whereas researchers have documented thousands of serious accidents at sea in the past 30 years involving fires, collisions, groundings, explosions, equipment failures, sinkings, bad weather, propulsion accidents, etc. Whereas accidents at sea occur in uniquely dangerous circumstances, and accidents at sea with nuclear-powered vessels carry unequaled potential for catastrophe. Whereas as a direct or indirect result of accidents, there are now at least 50 nuclear warheads and 8 nuclear reactors on the ocean floor. And whereas there was a malfunction with the Soviet nuclear reactor MV Lenin, a section of the bottom of the ship was cut away, allowing the damaged reactor to fall from the ship to the ocean floor. Whereas the leakage of radioactive materials from these reactors pose a serious threat to Arctic ecosystems. And whereas there is no satisfactory way to dispose of or permanently store reactor waste products or decommissioned reactor, now therefore be it resolved that the Inuit Circumpolar Conference reaffirms its opposition to the use of nuclear reactors anywhere in the Arctic because of their unacceptable environmental, health, safety, and security risks, and be it further resolved that the ICC should express its concern over the risk posed by seaborne nuclear reactors, both in service and out of service in the Arctic, to the following bodies. 1. The International Arctic Science Committee, IASC, for a scientific assessment of the threat posed by these reactors. 2. The Danish Ministries of Environment and Foreign Affairs as host of the 1993 nuke meeting of ministers for the review of the Rovaniemi process. And 3. The environmental forums of the Conference on Security and Cooperation in the Arctic, CSCE. And I'll second his motion.
Are there any objections to the resolution? (9239) is adopted.
9239. Mr. Chairman.